Police car light breaking. Caitlin Clark's latest WNBA drama has everyone talking. And when I say everyone, I mean everyone. Fans, players, coaches, analysts, former legends, social media influencers. Even people who don't watch basketball are chiming in. Because this isn't just about a game anymore. This is about something much bigger. This is about a young woman who has become the most polarizing figure in women's basketball, maybe in all of sports. Some people love her. They see her as a generational talent. A trailblazer. A player who has single-handedly brought more attention to the WNBA than anyone in history. They see her step-back threes and no-look passes and they can't help but be amazed. Other people hate her. They see her as overhyped. Overrated. A player who gets special treatment because of her skin color and her background. They see her confidence as arrogance. They see her fame as undeserved. And then there are the people in the middle, the ones who are just watching, confused, wondering why everything Caitlin Clark does becomes a national headline. Well, let me tell you, this latest drama is different. Because this isn't about a hard foul. This isn't about a trash-talking incident. This isn't even about the leaks we exposed in our last video. This is about something that happened off the court. Something that has set shockwaves through the entire league. Something that has forced players to pick sides, publicly. It started with a single comment. A comment made by a veteran player during a post-game press conference. A comment that was directed at Clark, but wasn't really about her. It was about everything. The attention. The money. The media. The power dynamics that have been simmering beneath the surface of the WNBA for years. And when that comment went viral, the floodgates opened. Players started speaking out. Some defended Clark. Some attacked her. Some tried to stay neutral and got dragged into the crossfire anyway. Coaches were asked to weigh in. Analysts debated it for hours on television. Social media erupted with hashtags and hot takes. And Caitlin Clark, the woman at the center of it all, had to respond. Because she couldn't stay silent anymore. What she said next shocked everyone. And it changed the conversation completely. In this video, we're going to break down everything. The comment. The reactions. The fallout. The bigger picture. And we're going to tell you what really happened, without the spin, without the bias, without the noise. Because this story is too important to get wrong. Let's get into it. It was a Tuesday night in July. The Indiana Fever had just lost a hard-fought game against the Connecticut Sun. Clark had put up 26 points, 9 assists, and 7 rebounds, another stellar performance in what was already a historic rookie season. But the post-game press conference wasn't about her stats. It wasn't about the game. It was about something a veteran player had said in the locker room, and then repeated to a reporter. That player was a 12-year veteran. A multiple-time All-Star. A player who had been the face of her franchise for over a decade. We're not going to name her here, because the story isn't really about her. It's about what her comment represented. The reporter asked her, "What do you think about all the attention Caitlin Clark is getting this season?" The veteran paused. She looked down. She sighed. And then she said something that made the reporter's eyes go wide. Honestly? It's exhausting. She's a great player. Nobody's denying that. But she's not the only great player in this league. She's not even the best. And yet, every single day, it's Caitlin this and Caitlin that. I've been in this league for 12 years. I've won championships. I've broken records. And I've never seen anything like this. They treat her like she's the savior of women's basketball. Like we didn't exist before she showed up. And it's disrespectful, to me, to my teammates, to everyone who built this league. The comment spread like wildfire. Within hours, it was being shared on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and every sports outlet in the country. Some people agreed with her. They said she was telling the truth, that Clark had been elevated above players who had earned their respect over years of hard work. Others were furious. They accused the veteran of jealousy, of bitterness, of trying to tear down a young player who was doing nothing but playing great basketball. And then the debate got even messier. Because the veteran's comment wasn't just about Clark. It was about race. It was about money. It was about the media's obsession with certain players and its neglect of others. She later expanded on her comments in an interview with a major sports network. Every time I turn on the TV, it's her face. Every commercial break, it's her. Every highlight reel, it's her. But there are players in this league who have been doing this for years, doing it at a high level, and nobody knows their names. Nobody cares. And you know why? Because they're not white. They're not from Iowa. They're not marketable in the same way. And that hurts. It hurts to see your hard work ignored because someone else came along with a better story. That statement was explosive. And it forced the conversation into uncomfortable territory. Because she wasn't entirely wrong. The WNBA has always struggled with media attention. Black players have historically been the backbone of the league. And yet, the moment a white superstar emerges, the media swarms. It's a painful truth. And one that many fans didn't want to acknowledge. But the veteran's comments also had a darker side. They were dismissive of Clark's actual talent. They implied that Clark's success was purely a product of her race and her marketing, not her skill. And that was simply not true. Clark had broken records. She had led her team to wins. She had proven herself on the biggest stages. She wasn't just a marketing creation, she was a legitimate basketball prodigy. And so the debate raged on. Two truths colliding. Neither side willing to give an inch. Clark, meanwhile, was watching it all unfold. She hadn't responded yet. She was waiting. Calculating. Preparing. Because she knew that whatever she said next would define her career, and maybe even the league itself. Within 48 hours of the veteran's comments, social media had turned into a war zone. Twitter was on fire. Threads were being posted every few minutes. TikTok videos were getting millions of views. Instagram comments were flooded with arguments between fans who had never met each other but were ready to fight to the death over Caitlin Clark. The hashtags were everywhere. Team Caitlin. WNBA Gate. Respect the vets. Caitlin Clark overrated. Caitlin Clark is the future. It was chaos. And it was exactly what the media wanted. Sports networks dedicated entire segments to the controversy. Former players were brought in to give their takes. Analysts argued back and forth, each one trying to outdo the other with hot takes. And then the players themselves started weighing in. Some veterans publicly supported the player who made the original comment. They said she was brave for speaking the truth. They said the league had a problem with race and media representation. They said Clark needed to be humbled and that the media needed to stop crowning her before she had earned it. A few even went further. One veteran, a former MVP, tweeted, "Some of y'all need to understand that this league existed before 2024. And it will exist after Caitlin Clark retires. She's not bigger than the game. She's just a player." That tweet was liked over 50,000 times in the first hour. But it was also ratioed into oblivion by Clark's fans, who flooded the comments with stats, highlights, and fierce defenses of their favorite player. On the other side, younger players started speaking up for Clark. Some of them were rookies who had come into the league with Clark. Others were second-year players who had watched the hostility build from the sidelines. One second-year guard posted a video on TikTok that went viral. She said, "I came into this league last year. I was a nobody. I didn't get any attention. I didn't get any commercials. And you know what? That was fine. I was just happy to be here. But when Caitlyn came in, suddenly everyone's talking about the WNBA. Suddenly there are sponsors. Suddenly there are cameras everywhere. And that's a good thing. It's good for everyone. So why are people mad about it? Why are people trying to tear her down? It makes no sense to me. That video was powerful. Because it came from a player who had no reason to defend Clark, other than the fact that she believed in fairness. And then came the comments from the neutral players, the ones who tried to walk the line between supporting Clark and respecting the veterans. One all-star guard told a reporter, "I think both sides have valid points. There is a race issue in the media. We can't ignore that. But we also can't ignore what Caitlyn has done for the league. She's brought attention. She's brought money. And we should be grateful for that. We can walk and chew gum at the same time." It was a diplomatic take. But in the heat of the controversy, diplomacy didn't satisfy anyone. The fans wanted blood. They wanted their side to win. And Clark knew that. She knew that whatever she said next would either calm the storm or make it worse. She chose to make it worse. But in a way that nobody expected. 3 days after the veterans' comments went viral, Caitlyn Clark held a press conference. It was scheduled. It was planned. And it was going to be the most watched press conference in WNBA history. The room was packed. Cameras were everywhere. Reporters were jostling for position. Everyone wanted to see what Clark would say. Clark walked in with her usual calm demeanor. She was wearing a simple team hoodie. No flashy jewelry. No dramatic expression. She looked like she was about to talk about a game, not a culture war. But when she sat down and leaned into the microphone, it was clear that she was about to say something important. She took a deep breath. And then she began. "I've been quiet for the last few days. I wanted to process everything before I spoke. I wanted to make sure I said the right things, not just the things that would sound good. So I'm going to say what I really feel. And I hope you'll listen." The room went silent. Even the reporters stopped typing. I came into this league with nothing but respect for every single player who came before me. I grew up watching the WNBA. I know the history. I know the struggles. I know that I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. And I would never, ever disrespect that. Anyone who says I don't respect the veterans is lying. Period. She paused. She looked down at the table. And then she continued. But I also know something else. I know that I've earned my place. Not because of my skin color. Not because of my marketing. Not because of anything other than the fact that I've worked my entire life to be the best player I can be. And I've broken records. I've won games. I've brought attention to this league that nobody else has brought. And that's not arrogance, that's just facts. The reporters were hanging on every word. So when I hear a veteran player say that I'm exhausting, that I get too much attention, I have to ask, is that really about me? Or is it about something else? Is it about the fact that the league didn't get this attention when they were the stars? Is it about the fact that the media didn't care about women's basketball until a white girl from Iowa showed up? Because if that's the case, I understand the frustration. I really do. But that frustration shouldn't be directed at me. It should be directed at the system. The media. The sponsors. The fans. Not me. I didn't create this system. I just showed up and played basketball. The room was stunned. Clark was being honest, brutally honest, in a way that most players never are. She continued, I also want to say something about race. Because I know that's the elephant in the room. Yes, I'm white. Yes, I've gotten attention that maybe some black players haven't gotten. And that's not fair. I'm not going to pretend that it is. But I'm also not going to apologize for my existence. I'm not going to apologize for being good at basketball. I'm not going to apologize for being marketable. That's not my fault, that's the world we live in. And instead of fighting each other, maybe we should be fighting the system that made it this way. She paused again. Her voice wavered just slightly. I love this league. I love the players. I love the game. I don't want to be the villain in anyone's story. I just want to play basketball. I want to win. I want to be great. And I want to lift everyone up with me, not just myself. If the veterans are mad at the attention I'm getting, I get it. I would be mad too. But I'm not the enemy. I'm on the same team. We're all on the same team. She leaned back in her chair. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to fight with anyone. I'm not going to respond to every tweet or every interview. I'm just going to keep playing. And hopefully, people will remember that this is about basketball. Not politics. Not race. Not money. Just basketball. She stood up. She walked out. And the room exploded into chaos. Reporters were scrambling to file their stories. Social media was already erupting. Clark's response was being analyzed from every angle. Some people loved it. Some people hated it. But nobody could ignore it. And that was the point. Clark had taken the controversy and reframed it. She hadn't backed down. She hadn't apologized. She had confronted the issues head-on, with honesty, with vulnerability, and with a clarity that no one expected. In one press conference, she had changed the entire conversation. Clark's press conference was powerful. But it also provoked a backlash. Within hours, several veteran players took to social media to respond. And some of them were furious. One veteran, a former Olympic gold medalist, posted a series of tweets that went viral. Let me get this straight. The rookie tells the veterans to fight the system and not blame her. But what system? The system that gave her a Nike deal before she even played a game? The system that put her on every commercial? The system that made her the face of the league before she earned it? That system? This is ridiculous. She needs to stop acting like she's a victim. She's not a victim. She's the most privileged player in the history of the league. That tweet was liked over 100,000 times. And it set off a new wave of arguments. Other veterans piled on. One said, she talked about standing on the shoulders of giants, but she doesn't act like it. She acts like she built the league herself. She needs to check her ego. Another said, I've been in this league for 15 years. I've seen rookies come and go. But I've never seen a rookie talk like she's already a legend. It's not a good look. But there were also veterans who defended Clark. And their voices were just as loud. One all-star tweeted, I watched the press conference. I thought she was honest. I thought she was respectful. She said she respected the veterans. She said she understands the frustration. What more do people want her to say? She can't change the system by herself. Stop acting like she's the enemy. Another veteran, a Hall of Famer, called into a sports radio show and said, I've been watching Caitlin Clark since she was in college. She's the real deal. She's not arrogant. She's confident. There's a difference. And I think some of the veterans are just mad that she's getting attention they never got. I understand that, I really do. But taking it out on her is not the solution. The divide was now completely public. Players were openly feuding on social media. Fans were taking sides. The league was caught in the middle. And Clark, the woman at the center of it all, was trying to stay above the fray. She didn't respond to the tweets. She didn't lash out. She just kept playing. and winning. But behind the scenes, her team was strategizing. They knew that this controversy wasn't going away. They knew that the veterans were going to keep attacking. And they knew that Clark needed to stay focused on what mattered, her game. And so, Clark did what she always did. She showed up. She played. She dominated. And she let her performance speak for itself. The veterans could say whatever they wanted. But they couldn't take away her stats. They couldn't take away her records. They couldn't take away the fact that she was the most exciting player in the league. And that, ultimately, was her greatest weapon. So where does all of this leave the WNBA? The latest drama has exposed fractures that have been hidden for years. The jealousy. The resentment. The racial tensions. The media bias. The economic inequality. It's all been brought to the surface, and now the league has to deal with it. But here's the thing, these issues aren't new. They've been there all along. It just took a player like Caitlin Clark to make them impossible to ignore. Because Clark isn't just a basketball player. She's a mirror. She reflects everything that's wrong with the way we treat women's sports. She reflects the media's obsession with white athletes. She reflects the public's fickle attention span. She reflects the economic realities of a league that has struggled for decades to find a foothold. And she also reflects the hope. The possibility. The chance for something better. Because Clark has brought attention to the WNBA that no one else could. She's made people care. She's made people watch. She's made people invest. And that's a gift. Not just for her, but for everyone. So the question isn't whether Clark is overrated or overexposed. The question is, what are we going to do with this moment? Are we going to let it tear us apart? Or are we going to use it to build something better? Clark herself seems to know the answer. In a private conversation with a teammate, which later leaked, she said, "I know I'm not everyone's favorite. And I know some people will never like me. That's fine. But I also know that I can change this league. I can make it bigger. Better. More respected. And if that means I have to take some hits along the way, so be it. I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to win. And I'm here to leave a legacy." That quote, whether you love her or hate her, is undeniable. Caitlin Clark is here. She's not going anywhere. And she's going to change the WNBA forever. The question is, will the league change with her, or will it be left behind?